Hi everybody, welcome to another video. In mid-May, a friend and I took a day out to a classic vehicle rally which is nearby in Aylesbury. This is one of the larger events in the area for this type of thing. Hundreds of cars normally turn up and there's stalls and other things going on. It's a whole major event rather than just a collection of cars appearing in a field somewhere. And all the money that's raised through entry fees, etc., that goes to charities. Now, in the past, I've liked to be a bit creative with car photography. It's not something where I've photographed cars and had control over how and where I photograph them. That is something I've yet to be able to organise for myself and arrange, just having a car or a motorbike even, where we can take it to a location and I can shoot it within that location. A lot of the car photography I've done has been at these type of events, so they're static. There's no way that I can move the car to be in a better location, get a better angle, better backdrop, that sort of thing. So it's very much a kind of shoot what you've got scenario, which is fine. That's fine. It gives me practice in shooting a different subject and seeing how creative maybe I can be with that. This year, having recently acquired my 10 to 18 millimeter lens, giving me equivalent of 16 millimeter wide angle on a full frame camera, 16 to 28 on a full frame camera, I decided that I would see how playing with that, after using it to shoot the Norfolk tulips, I'll put a link to that video somewhere, wherever that appears on the screen. I wanted to see how this lens would be in terms of getting creative and creating some images with the cars. The other aspect I was thinking about was how I might process these images, because I like shooting the fronts of the older cars, especially American cars. Anything that's got the sort of proper chrome grills, the round headlights, and the sort of character to the front, if you know what I mean. So I was planning to shoot more of sort of the fronts of the cars, but also see if I could get any side-on views just using this lens. Now, this gives me the scope to pull out wider or crop into equivalent of 28, 29 mil if I want to. The other thing with these events is there's people around, and what I've decided with my photography is if I'm going to an event, I will document the event. I don't want to just moan and gripe about, oh, there's people in all my shots. I'm just going to go for ease on myself because of my cognitive challenges with fibro and my stenosis in my spine, and shoot what is available. If there's people around, try and include them, frame them in the shot in a way, wait for them to move slightly and that sort of thing, and just see if I can include them in the image in some way. And you'll see that in some of these images that I'm going to share with you. Now, the other thing with processing the images, I got home and completely exhausted for a few days of doing this with the fatigue and everything else. And also we're having some nice hot weather. We're in a bit of a heat wave in the UK. So that sort of, as that's increasing, it's increasing my fatigue because our humidity goes up. But when I sat and started processing them, I was looking at the images as they were. So I was using my sort of normal style of processing that I use for my street photography, just as a starting point. And while the images that I'll show you now are nice, they're not what I had in mind. And I'll explain to you what I mean. I've been doing my DSLR photography for about 15, 16 years now. And at the very start, I bought Photoshop Elements, I think it was 9. And within that, there in one of the tools for processing and creating images was something called cutout. And this basically created a look and feel of the sort of the block color images of the sort of the 1930s. And I really like that for car images. So that's what I used previously. And here's an example of a Lamborghini that I shot in Mayfair when we were there for a family trip. We were hunting for classic cars when my son was about 8 or 9. He'd got his own DSLR, and we saw this Lamborghini parked up outside this cafe, and the bright blue of the Lamborghini was set off by the cream and the red of the cafe and the gold of the cafe logo. So what I did with these images is, I'm really pleased with the and my processing skills were nothing where they are now. Some would argue they're nowhere now. But I used this cutout to see if I could create sort of a poster effect. And here's the poster effect that I created using the full image. And then I cropped in to the front of the car with the original photo, and I did the same sort of style there. And I quite like these as somebody who likes that style of art from that period, the 30s, that sort of period. And as somebody who has seen a lot of steam trains, thanks to my father, over the years on holidays and things, you see these posters everywhere. And I guess growing up with that means something to me. And there's something resonating there. Here's a couple of images that I converted that I took at a car rally in Dunstable, I believe, years ago, and you can see with the older cars how it sort of creates that look and feel with the front grills and the headlights on these cars. However, I don't have the ability to use Photoshop Elements 9 anymore. It won't run on more recent laptop. I tried it, had real issues with my laptop, had to reboot Windows and reload all my software. I currently use open source software, which is free, because not being able to work, I'm on a budget, not going to pay out for Lightroom, Photoshop, that sort of thing. So I use these tools, but they don't have the same filters and creative effects in them. And I'm yet to work out if or how I can create this cutout look in this software. So I was looking at the original images I created and thinking, with the limited amount of cognitive function I have, but seeing an idea of something a bit higher contrast and a bit more grungy is the word I'm going to use, I decided to go with boosting the sliders for contrast up and to see what effect that would give me. And here's the original of the Audi TT. So a nice image, a softer look and feel, nice low angle. And here's the high contrast effect that I created. Now in GIMP, the Photoshop equivalent that I use, there is a posterize effect in the filters and colorize menus, but it gives more of a sort of a solarizing effect, and that's not what I'm going for. I'm going more for the block color in my mind. That's what I want to do. But I think these high contrast images, especially as we had some cloud in the sky. Now, it's blown out a lot of the cloud, but there's still some feature in some of the sky. And I think it's worked quite well. I've shown it to a friend or two, and they quite like this as well. And, you know, it's just a case of doing something with your images that you like. You know, I'm not doing these to sell or promote my photography. This is something I do for fun with friends. If these events are going on, we get together, have some coffees, walk around, see what images we can create and compare how we've decided to process them, and to see what sort of shots people see that you don't, and vice versa. That's always interesting. I wouldn't have taken it that way. I didn't see this. That's a good idea. And this is how your photography develops. Or you stick with what you know and let other people do their thing. We spot for each other trying to look for shots. Anyway, I digress. Here's a shot of the Cadillac Coupe de Ville. The front of it. There is a shot coming up later of the rear, and you'll see why I took the photo of the rear with the extreme fins on it. But here's the original image, just with a little bit of processing, nice and soft. And here's the high contrast image. These won't be to everybody's taste, hence the title of this video, but it's how I decided to process these images. Now, I shoot raw all the time, even on my phone, and that means that it's non-destructive. I could go back to the original image or create a duplicate, and I can do some different processing if I feel I want to create a different look of feel at a later stage. What I did find is, with this image, with people in it and a car leaving the event, a van, truck, come on, get your words out, an American truck leaving the event, I think that extreme wide angle, 16mm equivalent, 10mm on my camera lens, it helps sort of create a dynamic of that car coming into the frame. You've got people looking at it, you've got cars to the left. And I also think it works well with that. Anyway, I am going to stop waffling. I hope you like these images. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and if there's anything else, or if you know the GIMP or Darktable software, if you've got any pointers as to creating these cutout style images more effectively. Bear in mind that with what I'm struggling with and how it affects my cognitive function, I can't sit for hours processing images. I want to sort of be quick, and when it comes up for a different subject, that's where the challenge comes in, and sometimes I have to leave it for a few days to think about it and keep coming back to it and thinking, okay, I could do this. I look at some videos online if I find any in using that software and ideas, or it could even be using different software but then relating it to the software that I have. It doesn't always have to be videos for the same software. So I hope you enjoy these images. Let me know your thoughts if you're so inclined. And yeah, these are the high contrast images. If you like this video, go back and have a look at some of my others. Give us a like, and if you haven't subscribed, please do so. And I will talk to you in another video. Thanks for watching.